Chapter 16. Bound by Emotion. Fordron casts a binding spell that causes Danny's arms to be forced behind her back. As Danny resists, she's driven to her knees. His will over the spell is strong, Danny thinks. I can't overpower his control. I know you feel strongly about this, but I cannot allow you to make such an emotional decision. As a master, I must take it into consideration the well-being of all the mages of Endelgian. In the grand scheme of things, the life of your friend is insignificant compared to all those under my protection. You would uphold the ideals of a system that I know you fundamentally disagree with? That makes you nothing more than a hypocrite, Danny says angrily. These words cause the master conflict. What if you could go back and change the path that Scrimauer was on? What if you could intervene right before he went over that edge and became a murderer? Wouldn't you do whatever you could to save him? Even if that meant defying the orders of the elders? This isn't the same, Fordron whispers. But it is, Danny argues. Jake hasn't reached that point of no return. I know I can still save him. All you have to do is trust me. Danny, Fordron whispers. You know that I do. After fighting side by side against Scrimauer, I have seen better than anyone that you are far more than just an apprentice with a dark history. I fear that because of your past, you are trying too hard to save someone from a similar fate. But Jake has to be able to save himself. At some level, he is giving in to this rage. Until he can stop himself, how could you ever reach through to him? I just know that I can. Fordron releases his binding of the young mage. Come on, let's go. You've made your point, but this is bigger than either of us. We have to look at the safety of all the world in our decisions. If we foolishly try to save your friend and fail, he will only be free to kill again. We have to allow the knights to handle this one. They have the experience dealing with these hard decisions. Danny steps back, defying the master's orders. I can't abandon Jake, she says. You go. I have to stay here and finish this. If I can't save Jake, then I have to be the one to end this. I can't let some team of strangers come in and kill him. If there's no other choice, it should be me pulling the trigger. Fordron shakes his head in annoyance. You're way too damn stubborn. There are going to be severe ramifications if you defy this order. I don't know how I'm going to cover for you. The elders are going to find out you disobeyed my orders and put the lives of mages in jeopardy to save Jake. Danny shuts her eyes tightly. I can't. I'm sorry, but I can't. I can't comply with your order. Label me whatever you will. I'll deal with the consequences later. I have to say, save Jake. He doesn't deserve this. None of this was his fault. Fordron curses loudly, his arms shaking. Damn it! Stop being so stubborn. This is beyond your friend. The lives of many are at stake here. The threat he poses is too great to ignore. We came here to stop the threat, not save your friend. I'm sorry, but these are my orders. Master, Zaya says, limping towards them. I can take everyone back to Endelgian. I'm not much use here anymore without a healer conscious to restore me. Fordron sighs loudly. You kids are going to be the death of me. Fine, Zaya. Return our wounded to the city and get them immediate treatment, and report to the elders and Captain Erisai the status of our mission as it currently stands. Master Bennett, will you be staying or leaving? Master Bennett dodges a combo of slashes from Jake and throws his hands out, chanting quickly. A pinkish haze falls over the area, caused by dust-like particles conjured in the air. Dream magic! Duermas! Bennett shouts, ignoring Fordron. The spell is ineffective and Jake continues towards him. Bennett raises an energy shield at the last second between them. Jake hits the energy shield, sending a fracture snaking through the length of the energy. The teen furiously pounds at the wall, chipping pieces off of the barrier. I don't think the two of you are going to be able to do this alone. If I can just get my dream magic to be effective, I believe we can subdue the boy. Don't you have anything more potent? Fordron asks. Isn't dream magic and putting people to sleep your specialty? He isn't a normal person, Bennett says, aggravated. I don't know how much the Sakari spirit inside of him throws my spells off. It will be a series of trial and error to put a creature whose anatomy I know nothing about to sleep. Keep trying, Fordron shouts, dodging Jake by dispersing into a murder of crows and flying to the other side of the street. Frustrated, Master Bennett alters his approach. If I can make physical contact with him long enough, I can form a direct connection with his mind and cast my spell from within. He's not going to sit there and let you hold on to him without striking back, Fordron says. If you try, you're going to leave yourself wide open. That's why I need the two of you to restrain him for me. Are you crazy? Fordron shouts. I'm about 2 seconds from just killing the boy with a death curse and calling it a day. Why would I risk my life to try and save someone like him? This kid has killed more people than Scrimauer and Schaefer combined. Danny steps up beside the Masters, focused and serious. She knows she likely only has a few more minutes before borrow power is used up completely. He's my friend. I'm going to do whatever it takes to save him. That's reason enough for me. If you aren't going to help, then get the hell out of here. Fordron sighs loudly. You don't have to be so hateful about it. Fine. I'll help restrain him, but it would be so much easier to stop holding back and just kill him. Zaya walks over to the horrific crime scene that was once her allies. Provost Lutea's body has so many stab wounds that parts of her intestines are hanging out. Blood is everywhere. Despite all of the magical protections cast, the young mage was unable to fight back enough to prevent her brutal death at the hands of the assassin, Candy Stripe. Zaya shuts her eyes tightly, trying not to take the image with her. She turns, seeing Provost Zuberi attempting to keep Provost Porter stabilized. Also suffering from many stab wounds, Alcine is barely clinging to life. If not for Zuberi getting to her in time, her fate would be the same as Marcelo Lutea's. Zuberi's face and arms are bruised, and he appears to be in a great deal of pain. Instead of healing his own injuries, he immediately rushed to the aid of his fallen comrades. Unfortunately, by the time he reached them, Lutea was already dead. She's really hurt, he coughs. I can't heal her. I don't have enough stamina left. All of our potions are gone, broken or empty. I've only been able to keep her from slipping over the edge into death. Zaya kneels beside Alcine, whom she would think is already dead if not for Zuberi's insistence that she's still hanging on by a thread. You're both very brave. I'll make sure that you get the treatment and healing that you need. Jake lunges, and Fordron quickly pushes Danny out of the way. Just as the teen is about to reach the Master, Fordron falls back and casts a defensive spell. Phantom chains wrap around Jake's wrists, preventing the teen from reaching the magician. Fordron rolls out of the way and begins to chant, Kasugi Merkravenus. Dozens of phantom crows swarm Jake, beating at him with their wings and pecking at his flesh. Jake screams, breaking the chains and expelling the birds with his black aura. Fordron appears behind the teen and places both hands against his back. Sabda Veda Astra. Jake collapses, a phantom weight pressing him to the floor. The teen struggles, unable to lift his face off the street. Unreal, Danny whispers in shock. He didn't even need my help to restrain Jake. How much is Master Fordron holding back? The kid is really strong, Fordron says, straining to keep Jake from breaking through his spell. I suggest you do whatever it is you're planning to do soon. Out of nowhere, Flex rushes forward and begins to hammer Jake with dozens of hard body blows. I don't know anything about magic, but if I can tenderize this bastard a bit for you, I'll do my part. Narcoleus slept near. Bennett nods and begins to chant. Phantom man with a pale skeletal face wearing a brown cloak appears before Jake. The teen looks up just in time for the Sandman to blow more of the magical dust into his face. Jake coughs several times and thrashes about, trying to shake off the effects of the spell. Master Bennett moves quickly to touch his hands to the sides of Jake's head. The magician closes his eyes and attempts to enter the teen's subconscious. Jake's mind is now dark and cold. Water drips from the ceiling, making it feel like an ancient cavern. "Hello?" Master Bennett's voice echoes throughout the dark void. He checks to see if Jake has an avatar of his subconscious active. When he feels as though he is alone, the mage begins to cast another spell. "Duermas, Indemus." "That will not work," Imura says from a darkened corner. "He has become too powerful to be stopped." "Who's there?" Bennett asks, surprised. "I cannot see anyone there. Are you the rational mind of this boy?" "Not usually. But I suppose now I am the closest thing Jake has to reason. He has become the very monster he vowed to destroy." "If you aren't Jake, then who are you?" Bennett asks. Approaching the source of the voice, he finds Ymura locked away inside of a small cage. "The proud Sakari general," Ymura says with shame, "in all of my glory. How low I have been brought." "Do you know how to stop him?" "If I knew that, do you think I would have allowed myself to be confined in this way? The boy's emotions have made him a force that even I cannot overcome." Jake's avatar materializes, staring at Bennett and Ymura with hatred. "It would be best for you to leave," Ymura says. He has no hesitation or qualms about killing. "You will die here." Jake lunges, but Bennett pushes the teen back with a force of magical energy. The master quickly casts another spell, hoping to incapacitate the teen from within. "Duermas and Damas!" The spell is ineffective, and Jake speeds at him for the kill. Outside of Jake's mind, Bennett blinks several times and leaps backwards on instinct. "I don't understand," Bennett whispers. "He should be in a deep slumber by now." "Well, it isn't working," Fordron shouts as Jake breaks free of his restraints once more and attacks. Fordron attempts to wrap magical chains around Jake's wrists, but the teen catches the chains and pulls the magician in towards a claw slash. Jake's attack passes through Fordron's body as it breaks into crows and moves several feet away. "I could perform a ritual spell. It would be more powerful, but take some setup," Master Bennett says. "Whatever it is, do it," Danny says. "My magic is almost gone, and I won't be able to cast again for 2 months. If we fail here, and Jake goes out of control, I have to be the one to stop him. I owe him that much. Jake would rather die than hurt anyone else." "You seem to know him pretty well," Flex says. "Did the two of you have a thing before?" Danny shakes her head. "I'll never know what could have been, but I got Jake into this mess in the first place. He was a decent guy. He had morals and a strong sense of justice. He cared deeply for his friends and family." "How did you get him into this mess?" Flex wonders what Danny means. "I'm the person responsible for putting Ymura's spirit into his body. I manipulated his emotions and lured him into a trap." "Oh," Flex replies, shocked. "Damn." Danny nods. "I'll have to carry that guilt for the rest of my life. If I can do something to help Jake now, I have to try." "What will you need to cast the spell?" Flex asks Master Bennett. "I want to help too." She doesn't want to have to kill Jake either if it can be avoided. "It's a ritual spell, so I won't be able to just cast it on the fly. I'll need candles and something to represent each element," Master Bennett says, thinking. "I'll also need some of Jake's blood." "Fire, earth, wind, water," Danny explains. "And life," Bennett adds. "That's where the blood comes in." Flex looks over at Danny. I'm sure you can cover the blood part. I'll handle the rest. She jogs off and back into the clinic. You're taking an awfully big risk here, Fordron complains. If this doesn't work correctly, you could become trapped in a dream state yourself. Bennett nods. I know, but isn't our duty to take the burden off the shoulders of the next generation? Flex returns a few minutes later. Here's your water and earth. She hands the mages a bottle of water and a dish filled with dirt collected from outside. Bennett looks over at Fordron, who grumbles beneath his breath before summoning a crow familiar. Here is your wind element, he growls, plucking a feather from his familiar, much to the bird's dislike. Did you find any candles? Danny asks. Will this work? Flex asks, handing over a pack of cigarettes and a lighter. Hospitals aren't known for having a ready supply of candles. I found this on one of the guards. Hopefully, Bennett says with apprehension. We'll have to see. Balancing the cigarettes around him in a circle using overturned styrofoam cups with holes poked in the center, Bennett tells Danny to light them before he begins to chant. Across from them, Jake continues to try and break free from the magical restraints, each attempt severely taxing Danny's stamina. Danny, leave restraining him to Master Forgeron. I need you to help me with infiltrating Jake's mind. You'll be able to navigate his memories far easier than I can. What do we do when we get inside of Jake's mind? Danny asks. You'll have to perform a blood magic ritual to bind his power. I don't know how. Jake takes several steps towards them, but Fordron summons a murder of crows from the floor that flock around the teen's arms and legs and hold him in place. I'm going to teach you the spell to seal an object. You can increase the power of the spell by adding more circles to the array, and by using your blood as the catalyst. A spell that complicated would take months or longer to learn. That's why I'm going to cast another spell to allow you to learn this spell immediately. With your boosted power from the lone advancement magic, you should be able to pull off at least 4 or 5 spell circles, Fordron says. Why can't you just enter Jake's mind with Master Bennett and perform the spell yourself? Danny asks. Why bother trying to teach me the spell at all? It seems too risky. You know the boy better than any of us. The dreamscape is going to be filled with constructs of Jake's memories. Only you are going to be able to navigate through them with any chance of success, Bennett says. Besides, I have more stamina than either of you to be able to fend him off out here, Fordron says. That does not give you permission to take your time. Hurry up and get this done as fast as possible. Jake screams, bursting the crows into flames with his black aura. Fordron stumbles, knocked back by the destruction of his spell. Before the teen can attack, Flex leaps onto him from behind, her legs straddling his shoulders. Flex throws her body weight back, flipping Jake so that his face smashes into the floor. Cast your damn spell! Flex screams, locking Jake's arm and head into a tight submission hold. I won't be able to hold him like this for long. Fordron nods, turning his attention to Danny. He holds his hands out and concentrates. Uzne, eto, nemeldeleno. Danny's eyes glow with a strange green light as Fordron's spell imparts the knowledge of the binding magic into her mind. She stares forward for several long seconds in a trance. Now is our chance. Bennett holds out a hand with his palm turned upward before cutting himself with an athame dagger. Mens simpatico. He drips his blood onto the elemental components on the floor. Danny blinks several times, coming to. She holds out her hand and Bennett drags the knife across her palm. The teen drips her blood onto the elements as well. Finally, Bennett cuts Jake's arm, wiping his knife across the already reddened feather. Incursio, compassione! The elements and blood burst into flames, and Bennett blinks several times, awakening within the darkness of Jake's mind. Did it work? Danny whispers. Danny feels the world around her shift. Waves of nausea disorient the teen, and she feels lightheaded, even in astral form. She succumbs to the physical effects projected into her by Jake's mental defenses. A wall of flame separates her from Master Bennett. The heat is intense, and she backs away, trying to shield her face. Stumbling, she falls backwards into a black abyss. Moaning, Danny awakens at the bottom of a deep pit. She's unsure how long her consciousness has faded or where she has fallen. She looks around to see only walls of flesh in every direction. Deep within Jake's subconscious, Danny has become lost and alone. Growling attracts the teen's attention, and she turns to see a black form like smoke, eyes like red embers, crouched before her like a wild animal. "You don't belong here," the Nameless growls. Like a split personality, the Nameless is the embodiment of Jake Stewart's rage and emotional trauma, created subconsciously to deal with the horrors the teen has faced over the past year. The Nameless has endured too much and grown bitter and angry. "What are you?" Danny asks. "Are you some kind of mental defense?" "I am pain and anger made manifest. I am Malice. I am the emotions he's too weak to confront." Jake's mind created this thing to deal with his trauma? Danny wonders in shock. "Are you the one in control?" Danny asks. "Are you the reason why he's attacking everyone?" "He is too weak," the Nameless growls. "He cannot deal with the way this world works. Only the strong may endure. Without me to lead him through the darkness, he will be consumed by his grief and the horrors of this world. He will die." Master Bennett's hand plunges through the darkness. "Danny, take my hand!" Danny quickly grabs the Elder Mage's hand and is pulled back into Jake's mindscape. "There's something here with us that wants us to fail," Danny says. "Something other than Yamura?" Danny nods. "It's a thought construct. Jake's mind has created another personality to deal with his negative emotions and pain." "What does it want?" Master Bennett asks. "To take over Jake completely. If that happens, we may never be able to bring him back to his senses." The two mages venture further into the cavernous psyche of Jake Stewart. As they head deeper, the darkness of Jake's mind begins to brighten into a memory reconstruction. A young boy of about 4 or 5 stands holding the hand of his mother at a train station. Antique trains are parked ahead of them, and a man dressed as a conductor invites the guests on board the various trains to give them a tour. "That must be Jake as a child," Master Bennett says. "The woman's probably his mother." Danny watches their interaction with sadness, knowing how their story ends up. Eventually, Aunt Stewart will become a vessel for Inyana and die. "Jake!" Danny shouts. The little boy either does not hear or ignores her. "What if the bandits come and try to rob everyone?" Child Jake asks. "See that man over there?" Aunt asks, pointing to an older gentleman with a thick gray beard wearing a cowboy hat. "He's an undercover police officer. If he starts to think something bad's about to happen, he'll deal with the bad guys." "But what if there isn't always someone around to save the day?" Anne's form darkens until she becomes a featureless shadow. She stares down at the boy with glowing red eyes. "Then everyone will die." The dreamscape alters, new memories painting the world into an entirely new portrait. Jake sits in the cafeteria with his friends laughing and joking. In the memory, they are all there. K-Dog, Derek, Gavin, Miller, Chris, Redhawk, Garcia, Kaylee. In reality, they were likely never all present at once, as the lunch times are split in 2, so as to not have too many students in the cafeteria all at once. "You don't have the record time in Tekken 3, K-Dog says. I call bullshit. I absolutely do, Chris argues. My brother took me to the arcade in Bloomington and I played for 3 hours. I have used up 100 quarters, but I beat the entire single-player ladder. You do know that each machine has its own record-keeping, right? Kaylee asks. They don't share information across some magical network with other arcades. Sure they do, Derek laughs. You never heard the arcades dialing up to the internet after they show the high scores? You guys suck, Chris says, slinking down in his chair. I still bet I set a record. I own that game. What's everyone's plans for spring break? Jake asks. Miami Beach, Kaylee says, grinning, and getting my suntan on. Your family couldn't afford to go to Indiana Beach, let alone Miami, K-Dog laughs. The only way you're getting into Miami is if some pedophile with poor taste abducts you in his van. Fuck you, Kaylee shouts. She looks around embarrassed at several other students turning to look at her after the outburst. Fuck you, she whispers. Dad said he was going to take us out shooting, Derek says. He always just takes Mitch out with him. But this will be the first time me and Rusty will be allowed to come along. What are you hunting in April? Miller asks. Snipes? We're just going target shooting. He says we need to get used to firearms and being in the tree stand for long periods of time before we're allowed to actually go hunting with them. I still think it's pretty cool, though. I bet Mitch has a big gun, Kaylee whispers. Whoa, Jake says. I'm going to need you to dial that back about 80%. Ew, gross, Gavin complains. Can you keep your pervy fantasies to yourself? Why should I? I've walked into you whacking off to Baywatch at least 5 times, Kaylee says, annoyed. Well, Hasselhoff is pretty hot, Red Hawk says, putting a hand on Gavin's shoulder. No need to be embarrassed. Your urges are perfectly natural. Gavin slaps Red Hawk's hand away. I wasn't beating off to David Hasselhoff. Several students look around at them again. I like Knight Rider Hasselhoff myself, Jake says. Baywatch is kinda dumb. Knight Rider is just as dumb, Chris argues. A talking car? Really? His name is Kit, and I will respectfully ask you to leave him alone. Besides, Speed Buggy was a talking car long before Knight Rider was a thing. It's not that out there of a concept. Hell, Christine fell in love with a guy and started murdering people out of jealousy. Speed Buggy sounds like he's constantly having a stroke, Red Hawk laughs. Sputter, sputter, big race, gotta go faster, sputter, sputter. Danny and Master Bennett sit down at a table next to Jake and his friends. Jake and Danny's eyes briefly connect, and Jake becomes silent for a moment. You okay? K-Dog asks. Jake blinks several times, snapping out of his thoughts. What? You were staring at that goth chick pretty hard. You got a thing for her? K-Dog asks. Let me find out you're into girls with weird piercings and dyed hair. Kaylee laughs, making fun of Jake. No, Jake whispers. I feel like we've met before. She was in our biology class last semester. You probably remember her from there, Miller says. There were a couple of those goth kids in that class. Yeah, you're probably right, Jake whispers. I'd know it if I'd met her before. 2 girls come up to their table. Hi, K-Dog. Hi, Jake. The girls giggle. K-Dog pulls one of the girls onto his lap. What's up, ladies? The girls continue to giggle, fawning over the local basketball star. You got any scholarship offers yet? One of the girls asks, named Taryn. So many, K-Dog brags. But I want to finish high school ball first. Want to snag one of those elusive state championships. He looks out over the rest of the cafeteria to the gymnasium below. I want to be the first person in school history to hang up a championship banner above the gym. I want my name immortalized. Our school has never won anything, Chris says. What makes you think you can change that? The previous teams never had me on their squad, K-Dog says with a large grin, causing the girls to squeal loudly. Are you going to join the team this year, Jake? The other girl named Charlotte asks. Jake shrugs. Probably not. Sports have never been my thing. The girl is obviously disappointed and begins to pout. She knows Jake's reputation of being an excellent athlete, yet never joins any sports teams. If she could be the one to change that, she would gain tremendous clout with all the other popular girls. Convincing Jake to join a team would raise their chances of winning, and in turn elevate all of their statuses. You could make any team you went out for. You should just do it once. I bet you'd enjoy it. You play sports in gym class, don't you? Brad Henson walks over, smashing Gavin's hamburger with his hand. Jake is too much of a coward to join the football team. He knows that I'd kill all his hype and expose him for the fraud he really is. Everyone only thinks you're some great athlete because you've never been compared side by side with real athletes on the field. Jake balls his fists, tensing in anger. Anytime you want to have a one-on-one, Henson, he growls. All you know is violence, Brad says dismissively. You don't have any skill. You just know how to fight. What would fighting you do? That wouldn't prove anything other than how much of a punk you are. You're the coward, Brad, Kaylee says. You're always going around picking on my brother because you know he won't stand up to you. I never see you picking on anyone with a backbone. Kaylee, shut up, Gavin whispers. Brad reaches over, grabbing Kaylee's soda and pouring it onto her lap. There. Now your brother isn't the only pathetic loser in your family. Jake quickly stands, leaning over the table to hold a fork against Brad's throat. One more word. I dare you to say something else. Danny drops a lunch tray onto the floor, trying to distract Jake. Brad pulls away, shaken up and embarrassed. I'm gonna fucking kill you. Just you wait, Stuart. You're gonna fucking pay one day. Thanks, Kaylee whispers. I really fucking hate that guy. Jake looks over at Danny. Yeah, he's a winner for sure, he whispers. He walks over to Danny and leans over the table. All right, why do you keep looking over at us? Jake, this isn't real. This is just one of your memories. You have to listen to me. Your emotions are out of control. I need you to come back to your senses and take control of yourself, Danny says. Jake's mind activates its automatic defenses, purging the spoiled memory and loading in a new one. Damn it! Danny groans as the world around her begins to bleed colors. Every time I try to reach him, his mind hits the reset button. This kid has some impressive mental defenses, Master Bennett says. I've never seen a mind this fortified. I'm starting to doubt we can actually break through to him. I'm not giving up, Danny shouts. We've come this far. I'm not going back until I've brought Jake to his senses. I know you care about him, but maybe we've done all we can. It might be better for your friend if we just ended his suffering. You think he'd want to go on hurting people? I can reach him, Danny whispers in tears. I know I can. The next memory begins to load, and Danny recognizes the area as the backyard of Rusty and Derek Rigsby. Again, Jake and his friends are gathered to hang out, but this time are joined by the elder Rigsby son, Mitch. Brad really fucking hates you, Mitch says, lying on his back on a floating pool chair. Dude won't shut up about you all day. The guy is a prick, Jake says. He's always picking on people like Gavin and making their lives miserable. I can't stand bullies like him. He may be an asshole, but Brad is connected throughout the school and the community. Being on his bad side puts you on the outs with everyone important. Like I care about that. I'm not trying to climb the social ladder like you, Jake snaps back. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Isn't it obvious? Ever since we started high school, you've been too cool for us. All you care about is hanging out with the popular kids and going to parties. I barely even know you anymore. We all grow up, Jake. Maybe it's about time you did too. You can't surround yourself with losers your whole life, or you'll never be anyone or amount to anything. I know you could do awesome things if you applied yourself. Why don't you join the baseball team? I've seen how hard you can hit a ball. And you're an even faster runner than me. Jocks just aren't my crowd. I don't want to be like them. K-Dog's an athlete. Do you think he's an asshole too? Yeah, kinda, Jake shrugs. But I still tolerate him because I've known him for so long, and he doesn't ignore us or act differently when popular people are around. At least he's himself all the time. I'm just trying to help you. I don't want to see you dragged down by losers like Gavin. Maybe I'm okay with being a loser, Jake says. Maybe being a loser isn't such a bad thing. Master Bennett and Danny enter the memory, but their presence immediately begins to trigger the defenses of Jake's mind. Danny's previous interaction with the memories of Jake had flagged her as an outside presence that does not belong. Any time she is detected, Jake's mind will immediately set in place protocols to have her removed. Who the fuck are you? Gator asks, intercepting the pair. It's that goth chick from school again, Derek says. He looks over at Jake. Did you invite her over? I'm not sure, Jake whispers. I don't think so. He looks over at Danny. Why are you here? Jake, this is just a memory. We're in your mind. Do you remember me? Danny asks. Gator grabs Bennett by the arm forcefully. You don't belong here. Danny? Jake whispers. You're Danny Livingston. Danny nods with relief. Yes, Jake, it's me. Look, this is very important. This place is not real. This is a memory construct. The real you is out of control, raging in a whirlwind of emotion. I need you to fix that. You've got to get a hold of yourself. Gator throws Bennett off his property and turns toward Danny. You don't belong here either. Jake, please, Danny begs. You have to listen to me. Gator grabs Danny by the arm, but is stopped by Jake. Let go of her, Jake growls. She's my friend. She can stay. A deep voice echoes throughout the dreamscape. She does not belong here. Cast her out. The memory again resets, replacing Jake with another version of himself. We were so close that time, Danny says, frustrated. I think I almost got through to him. Jake's mind is onto us now. It's going to be more difficult to move in and out of his memories without being detected, Bennett says. We'll have to make the opportunities we do get count. I know for sure I can reach Jake now. He recognized me. Jake and his father walk through the forest, collecting mushrooms in a used bread bag. Jake is about 9 years old in this memory, and to Danny's surprise, he seems happier than she's ever seen him. That must be his dad, Danny whispers. Rather than trying to reach Jake immediately, she watches as the memory plays out. For someone with so much pain and bad memories, she can't force herself to spoil one of Jake's happier moments. We may not get another chance, Bennett says. You need to try and contact him. Just a little while longer, Danny whispers, trying to suppress her own emotions. This memory of Jake is really getting to her. Danny thinks of her own father who left when she was about the same age as Jake was in this memory. She remembers holding her father's hand and looking up to him, with a smile before his image vanishes from her mind. Are you going to sell them all again this time? Jake asks, searching around a rotted stump. I thought about eating them for 2 weeks after you sold them all. Ian finds several morels, placing them in his bag. I suppose we can keep some. I didn't realize you liked them. Grandma Margie fires them up with flour and puts them on toast with some mayonnaise. Ian makes a grimace. Yuck. Why would anyone ruin a perfectly good fried mushroom with mayonnaise? Some people put mayo on hamburgers, Jake says. Ian makes another disgusted look. And some people eat their own poop. Just because someone does a thing doesn't mean it's a good idea. Jake laughs. I saw a kid at school dip his french fries in mayo once. Now you're just trying to gross me out, Ian says with a smile. Jake, Danny starts to speak up, but stops when she hears her friend cry out in surprise. What is it? Ian asks, quickly running over to his son to check on him. Beside Jake is a deer carcass. The animal is mostly intact, save for a gunshot wound to the heart. The buck's antlers have also been sawed off. Jake sobs loudly, unable to comprehend why what he sees is upsetting him so much. If they shot the deer, Why did they just leave it out here in the woods? Ian grinds his teeth together in anger. Some people are total scumbags, Jake. Not everyone is a good person. The person that killed this deer wasn't a hunter. They were a trophy killer. They're nothing more than a poacher. Well, why would they do that? Jake cries. If they didn't need the deer, why'd they kill it? Ian shakes his head. I don't know why people do the evil things they do, son. It's the same kind of person that runs over animals with their car on purpose. Some people just enjoy hunting living things. Sometimes these people hurt animals. Sometimes they hurt other people. Hungry people could have eaten that deer. They could have taken it into town and given it away. It's a waste for sure. People like that don't care about anyone other than themselves. They seek only to satisfy their own immediate wants and urges. If you meet someone like that, Jake, don't try to reason with them. Sometimes a person has evil in their heart, and there's no making them see things any other way. Jake touches the deer's head gently. I'm sorry you had to die like this, all alone out here for no reason. Master Bennett studies the interaction carefully. He wonders if there's a pattern or meaning behind the memories they've been witnessing. What is he trying to work out? Bennett whispers. What? Danny asks, barely hearing him. The boy is cycling through very specific memories. He's had 15 years of moments, so why has he chosen the ones he has to think about now? His mind is broken. Maybe he's just trying to find some comfort from his past. I don't think so. Even in his memories that start off pleasant, they always end with some darker twist. I believe all these memories are connected in some way. If we can figure that out, maybe we can reach Jake's rational self. Danny tries to think about the memories they've already seen and find meaning in them. Before she can say anything, the dreamscape changes, a new memory loads, bringing them to a large arena where Jake and the Rigsby family are in attendance of a pro wrestling event. The cheering of fans is deafening, and as the mages try to move through the crowd closer to Jake, a man spills his cup of beer on Master Bennett. Where the hell are we? Bennett growls, wringing out his robe. This place is disgusting. He looks around at the cheering fans. These people are disgusting. This is a wrestling show, Danny shouts, trying to speak up over the noise. I think Jake and his cousins are big fans of pro wrestling. In the ring, a large man with a bald head and a cowboy-style vest, decorated with sequins, powerbombs another man dressed as a clown with bright red hair and a round nose. The cowboy bounces off the ropes, elbow dropping the clown's chest. What's the point of this? Bennett shouts. They know all this is fake, right? A man forcefully grabs the mage by his robe. We don't say the F word around here, punk. The man growls. If you don't like wrestling, why the fuck are you here? Shit, Danny whispers. Looks like we've been identified. Bennett shoves the wrestling fan away. Get to Jake. I'll try to keep his defenses off you. Danny pushes her way towards Jake, but both wrestlers exit the ring, begin punching fans in an attempt to reach the female mage. You don't belong here, the cowboy shouts. Stop interfering. Frustrated that they have spoiled the memory before seeing its purpose, Danny knows that this moment will not help them to decipher the meaning of any of the previous memories. The cowboy manages to grab Danny's arm, but she reverses the hold and strikes the wrestler in the throat. Danny? Jake asks in confusion, watching the mage engaged in battle with the two sports performers. Why are you here? Pulled out of the illusion of the memory's reality, Jake and all of the fans, along with the stadium itself, melt away to leave the mages alone in an empty memory. Before the next memory loads, we need a better plan, Bennett says. I say we don't interact at all, unless we have a clear shot at Jake hearing us. If Jake's mind notices us, we'll always cause the memory to load into a new one and start us over at square one. I still can't get over how strong this kid's mental defenses are, Bennett says. The dreamscape loads into a dark living room as a young Jake sits in front of the TV, watching black and white monster movies. The film is interrupted by a news broadcast showing scenes from the current war in the Middle East. Jake's eyes widen with horror at the real-world atrocities. He was prepared to enjoy simulated violence and fantastic creatures. But the news shows mass graves and speaks of war crimes committed by Saddam Hussein. "Jake?" Danny asks, crouching beside the boy on the floor. "Do you know me?" As the boy looks at the mage, he transforms into his teenage self. "Danny, why are you in my house? This isn't really your house. Jake, this is all in your mind. Do you understand?" "I think so." Jake is still confused, despite what he says. "Why are we in my mind?" "You ran into some messed up stuff and put you in a very dark place, to put it bluntly," Danny says. "You've gone out of control. You can't differentiate between friend or foe, and are attacking everyone indiscriminately." Jake is bothered by Danny's words. "I'm hurting people?" Danny nods. "I'm here to try and get you to come to your senses. Please, you have to gain control of your mind and snap out of this." Jake is suddenly impaled by a black sword. The teen does not scream or cry out. Instead, Jake and his memory begin to melt away. "I will provide no more warnings," the attacker says. Danny recognizes the man as Jake, but his features are strangely a mix between Jake's and Yamura's. "If you continue to interfere where you're not wanted, I will kill you." "Who are you?" Danny whispers. "Are you Jake's other personality? Are you the one he created to deal with the deaths of his parents and Claire?" The figure vanishes as a new memory begins to load. The dreamscape changes again, becoming a deciduous forest. The child versions of Jake, Mitch, Derek, Gavin, and K-Dog play war games with toy guns and their vivid imaginations. "Blam! Blam! Blam! Blam!" Mitch shouts, pointing his gun at the others. Jake dives for cover behind an old log and brings his own gun around towards Mitch. "I already shot you. You're dead," Mitch argues. "No, you didn't. I dodged," Jake says. "You can't dodge bullets, you fucking cheater," Mitch shouts. "And you can't shoot infinitely. Guns can only hold so many bullets before you have to reload." "I wish you would just die for real." Mitch throws his gun on the ground. "I hate you." Child Jake balls his fist in anger, but Derek stops him with a hand on the shoulder. "Don't, man. It isn't worth it." "Yeah, sometimes it isn't worth fighting," K-Dog adds. "Jake!" Danny shouts again, trying to get through to the boy. "Can you hear me? We don't have much time." Jake looks up, not seeing Danny, but his memories are still interrupted by her outburst, and the dreamscape again changes. Jake and Rusty battle across the Absinthe Elementary School playground. "You've taken everything from me!" Jake screams, throwing a left hook. Rusty blocks the attack, retaliating with a knee to the gut, followed by a right hook. "You've lost your mind! I haven't done anything to you. You stole Amy from me and turned all my friends and family against me," Jake shouts, twisting after being hit and striking his cousin with a headbutt to the face. Rusty staggers back, blood trailing from his forehead and nose. "Whatever you thought was between you and her was all in your mind," he says, holding his bleeding nose. "Liar!" Jake screams, tackling Rusty across the wood chips spread along the ground. Rusty rolls Jake off him and scrambles to his feet. "You're delusional! You guys weren't even dating! Stop being a psycho!" "A psycho?" Jake runs at him again. "Now I know how you really feel about me. You're just like everyone else." Rusty grabs Jake by the shoulders and throws a foot into his chest as he falls back, monkey throwing his cousin into the air. "Can you just get a hold of yourself? This is insane." Danny watches the emotional battle with pity. "I never realized what Jake was like before his training, before meeting Yamura. I always thought he was tough. But he used to be super emotional." These memories may be exaggerated reinterpretations of Jake's true experiences. If the way he acted back then really bothers him now, he may see the past in a more negative light. Master Bennett explains. "Jake," Danny shouts. "I know you can hear me. You have to stop ignoring me." Jake looks around. "Who keeps talking to me?" he whispers. His immersion in the memory is broken, and once again the dreamscape changes. Danny recognizes the next memory and gasps. Oh no. The dreamscape becomes a darker, more intimidating version of Elian Schaefer's martial arts dojo. "Stay away from me," Jake says, backing away with his hands out in front. "I want nothing to do with you people. You can keep your freaky-deaky cult stuff all to yourselves. I got no aspirations to Jonestown with you." "You've been chosen, Jake Stewart," Schaefer says. "Send my winnings to my P.O. box," Jake replies. "I have to go now." Micah and Danny block the exit. "I can't let you leave. We have gone through too much hell to just allow you to escape," Schaefer says. "That sounds like a personal issue," Jake says, desperately scanning for an alternative exit. The real Danny lunges, hitting her memory self with a flying kick. "This way!" she shouts, pivoting to strike Micah with a hard right hook. "What are you doing?" Master Bennett shouts. "I'm getting his attention," Danny replies. Jake becomes confused, reality and memory colliding violently. "What's going on?" The dreamscape bleeds colors as if it were an oil painting being rained on. "Come on, we have to leave," Danny shouts. "That man wants to bind an evil spirit to your body." Images of a blue-skinned creature with long horns and black hair flashes through Jake's mind. "Yamura," he whispers. Danny nods. "Yeah, that's right, Yamura. He wants to bind you with Yamura." Jake follows Danny and Bennett out the door, entering another memory. They find themselves in the Rockland Sheriff's Department. Police and criminals battle throughout the halls, and the entire building is in chaos. "What's going on here?" Jake asks. "How did we get here?" "These are your memories," Danny explains. "I have no clue why anything's happening. This is all in your head, not mine." "My memories? We're inside of your mind. None of this is real." Danny freezes, seeing her own fateful battle with Yamura come to its climax. The pain of her death paralyzes the teen as she feels the sensations of cold and emptiness all over again. "Come on! Like you just told him, none of this is real," Master Bennett says, seeing Danny locking up. With Jake's confusion, the dreamscape changes at random, transitioning from memory to memory. Scenes of Clavemont and Totikahachi play out quickly until Jake witnesses yet another version of himself engaged in battle with his mother, possessed by Inyana. "No!" Jake screams, watching as his mother sacrifices herself to save him. He's forced to witness her death all over again. "Mother!" "We aren't making any progress here," Bennett says in frustration. He temporarily got through to a fraction of his mind, but it wasn't enough. Danny is still shaken up from before. "I didn't expect these visions to be so intense. I'm having a hard time resisting the illusion myself." Black energy surrounds the memories of Jake, causing both versions of himself to burst into flames. From the flames, a dark entity rises. The being is a living black fire with glowing red embers for eyes. "I told you, you don't belong here," the Nameless says.